right, welcome everybody to our Tuesday, January 14th Board of Education regular business meeting. May I please have a motion to call the business meeting to order? So moved. Linda, second. Michele, all in favor? Aye. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, our new screen. All right, with that, can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? So moved, Linda, second. Jeff, all in favor? Aye. All right, next on the docket is our resolution to appoint a temporary board member. I just have a few comments before we move on to that. Three things that the board is majorly responsible for. One is this guy sitting to the left of me right here, Mr. Neenan, so check. Two is board policy, which thanks to Erie One BOCES is another check. And the third is the budget. So as we've been maneuvering throughout the year after Mr. Roods had to step down, we decided as budget season was approaching, there are a lot more meetings, a lot more commitments, and since Mr. Metzger was the only person from our former board members in the past to offer assistance, we discussed it a couple times. At last week's workshop, Mr. Metzger joined us, and tonight we're going to appoint him to help us out until May 20th, the budget vote, so that we can get through all of our meetings, because it is important, I think, for all of us board members. We have families, we all have other commitments. I don't want any board member to ever feel like they absolutely have to be here. We need our quorum of 4, so this gives us an opportunity to still make our other commitments, yet honor our commitment to get through that budget process and get to the budget vote on May 20th. So, with that being said, can I have a motion to approve the resolution to appoint our new board member to fill the vacant seat till May 20th? So moved, Carole. Second, Michele. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Mr. Metzger, come on up so you can get sworn in.
Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of board member of Webster Board of Education according to the best of your ability.
I will.
Thank you. If you could fill this out, and then we'll get it from you.
Congratulations, and thanks again, Dave. Welcome.
We will get you an appointment to get your laptop and all of that stuff. But in the meantime, we printed everything for you for tonight so that you have it in front of you. Thank you. Yeah, can't help your seat assignment. All right, and next up then we have our student liaison.
Yay.
I don't know, let's see.
I'm gonna go Thomas this time.
Okay.
Have they been undefeated?
Right? Isn't it amazing?
All right, well, hold on. I hope you didn't put up the slide because we don't know if that's the right one yet. Go ahead. We got to have
Oh,
our
we gotta do, yeah.
we got to have our
Rock, paper,
monthly
scissors.
contest here. Is it right? Did Paul get it right?
Every time I use the same name.
Remember that, Juliana.
I gotta write that down.
That's
All right.
great.
Well, Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back from a wonderfully long break. I think that it should be that way every year, but I'm graduating, so that's okay.
See what we can do.
Thomas students have been slowly getting back to the swing of things with midterms, sports, music, and so much more. I have a 4-day midterm that starts tomorrow. Wish me luck. Last night was Titan Night, which was very successful. I heard there was a lot of interest around certain classes and clubs, which will be exciting to see next year. And some Titans were featured at the Finger Lakes Regional Art Show at RIT. These fantastic artists are showing their art at the show this Friday, the 17th. And Thomas students whose work will be shown in the show is Max D, who's in 12th grade, Evelyn F, who's in 12th grade, Alana K., 11th grade, Jordan L., 12th grade, Dante L., 9th grade, and Libby M., 9th grade, which is a huge honor for them. Course selection has also begun at Thomas. There are a couple new classes starting for next year, like a music history class, which is very interesting, and much more. Counselors are meeting with students to go over schedules for next year, and as a senior, it's really weird not to. Like, it's kind of sad. And then finally from me, there's a new pep band starting for grades 7 through 12 for all of the schools. They will be playing at some of the basketball games, which will be really fun and something new to get involved in, and their rehearsals, I think, start tomorrow. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Hi, everyone. I have some good news about this January. Starting off, Model United Nations, including me, got to go to Syracuse Friday through Saturday and participate in the annual Cinnamon Conference. Congratulations to Ryan C., who won the Strategic Vanguard Award, Abby, who won Best New Delegate, Morgan S., who won an Honorable Mention Award. This was my first time going, and I was super nervous, but by the end, I got to make a lot of new friends, and it was so much fun, and I got to eat a lot of great food.
That's the best
So I'm so excited for next year. And also, Thomas Space Club will also be hosting an interstellar movie night coming up, and with only 6 members, make sure to spread the word to any Thomas student, and don't let them miss out on this awesome event. Also coming up is a field trip February 5th for any juniors interested in the New Visions program. And now for some sports highlights. At SUNY Brockport the indoor track competition, our Thomas students made up half of the top 10. Wow. Congratulations to Massimo P., Ethan W., Nate S., Oliver C., and Jackson W. 3 of them were in my grade, not to brag. Aiden W. also won the pole vault with a new school record at 14.6. Yeah, that's great. At the last girls basketball game, congratulations to the tournament MVP, Christina B., who had 25 points, and Olivia B., who had 10 points and 7 steals, getting named to the all-time tournament team. The girls basketball team won their games against Churchville Chile and Gates Chile, still wishing them luck if they need it.
Oh, and Thomas beat Trader Hockey. Would like to add that in. That's a very big deal. Very big deal right there.
Although, wait, didn't we, our basketball team, didn't we beat you guys a couple weeks ago?
I have no idea. I don't follow basketball. I really don't follow sports. I just know that one.
We're wrong. That's okay. Everybody's a winner.
Oh, yeah, and it's one left.
Until they're not.
Yeah. Like she was saying before, before our very long winter break, which was very nice, not gonna lie. Before that, though, we had some parent volunteers handing out hot chocolate and candy canes before school. The students really liked that. Me personally, I'm a big hot chocolate fan, so that was a nice little pick-me-up in the morning. And then, in addition to that, Anthony Amico, who's one of our student athletes who also spends his spare time riding for BMX USA, recently donated his USA jersey to Schrader, and as you can see in the pictures, he was also thanking his coaches for just like the amazing support that they all give him. So that was really cool. Yeah, it's a very cool jersey, yeah. And one last thing, on Monday, 14 of our students visited the YWCA Women's Shelter. The YWCA has been serving women and families for over 140 years. Their mission is to eliminate racism and empower women. They operate 2 different shelters. One of them is for women and one of them is for families. And the generosity and the kindness from our Schrader students was like truly appreciated. I know they greatly appreciate what we have done for them. And a special shout out to our hockey team who collected donations at one of their games, which really helped out too. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. My goodness, that's fantastic. And Happy New Year, absolutely. Oh, nice job. All right. I think it's now, because we don't have Joni today.
Joni's not here.
I'd like to invite up 3 of my friends, 3 of our guests here tonight. If we could have Mrs. Hessla and Dr. Callahan. And Mrs. Lasky, come on up and join us at the podium, and I will begin campus news, and then I'll be turning it over to Mrs. Hessla, so you're going to go first, Kate. All right, first of all, Happy New Year. And we hope that you had an enjoyable break, and we are off to a great start for the year 2025. I want to begin my report by highlighting our Webster Central PTSA. This group volunteers countless hours to provide opportunities and support to our schools, students, staff, and parents. And I'm incredibly grateful for all that they do for our school community. And it's actually all of PTSA, not just Central, but all of PTSA. But they recently launched a new program that highlights outstanding PTSA volunteers. And so last fall, building executive team selected someone who has shown above and beyond dedication toward their building's PTSA endeavors for this special recognition. Building administrators helped coordinate a surprise meeting at which their recipient was given a commemorative gift as an expression of PTSA's gratitude. And I would like to congratulate the fall 2024 volunteer recognition recipients from Schlegel Road and Owl, Marcy Dungy; from Plank South, Jen Liga; from Plank North, Bonnie Deary; from Thomas High School and Owl, Melissa Ritchie; from Spry Middle School, Sherry Andrews; from State Road, Kristen Linderman; from Clem South, Jen Sprin; from Clem North, Melissa Schmidt; from DeWitt, Leah Zamet; and from Schrader High School and Goal, Kara Quigley; and last but certainly not least, from Willink Middle School Owl, Allison Scheffler. Congratulations and thank you for all that you do. Your efforts and contributions make a tremendous difference in our school, and we are truly grateful for what you do to help our kids thrive every single day. And a huge shout out to Kim Kozlowski. Kim was the brains behind this, and I know she's the one that connected with each one of the principals, and there were several back and forth to coordinate this surprise with each of these candidates. So a lot of time and effort, and I appreciate all of our admin and our principals making that happen too. All right, let's see. Second, I would like to also congratulate 4 student athletes who recently received the Section 5 Athletic Scholarship Award. This scholarship is given to student athletes who display both athletic talent and academic excellence. Recipients are selected based on a letter of recommendation from their coach, their high school transcript, and their activity sheet, as well as their responses to application questions. And this fall, we had 4 from Webster. If you go on this website, you'll see that this is made up of athletes from all across Section 5. And we had 4 from Webster, which is fantastic. Christina F. from Thomas Field Hockey, Aaron M. from Schrader Golf, Jocelyn G. from Schrader Soccer, and Stephanie G. from Schrader's Gymnastics teams. Again, huge shout out to those 4 athletes that go above and beyond, not only on their field or their course in their sport, but certainly in the school and in their academics as well. And so now, with that, I'm going to turn things over to Ms. Hessler to tell us a little bit about what's going on elementary-wise.
All right, thank you, Mr. Neenan. So I am Kate Hessler. I'm the proud principal of Schlegel and Owl Elementary. And I'm pleased to represent our elementary administrators team tonight to talk a little bit about a highlight that we're proud of related to board goal number 1. So, of course, board goal number 1 is our academic goal. And I know that you've had a chance to hear from some of my colleagues throughout the fall, probably highlighting some of the things that are happening in the classrooms and what our students are doing with our new literacy program. And I wanted to take a little bit of a different angle to talk about the professional development that our teachers are continuing to experience, which, of course, is part of the goal as well. So, I'm sure that many of our board members have heard about the LETTERS professional development program over the last couple of years, because we made a huge commitment to that for our teachers who were already part of our staff the last couple of years. But what we have also done is built in some models of sustainability so that we can continue to train teachers as they're hired newly into our district. So I want to tell you a little bit about that. Some of the people that are here in this slide are our LETTERS facilitator turnkey trainers. They're not all in the picture, but many of them there are, and that was actually taken when they went to a conference hosted by the Reading League this fall. And so this group of teachers have gone through extensive additional training in addition to the the letters training. So they have done online modules, they have done hours of work to really deepen their knowledge base to be able to be facilitator trainers in the future. And so that has been really an extensive process for many of them, a lot of hours, a lot of time actually taking tests at the end of their online training. They have to get a certain score to be able to move on. And they are actually certified now to be trainers for letters. And it's something that I think for our district is just really going to be able to carry us forward as we implement this new curriculum in our classrooms, but of course as we bring new people on board as well. So a little bit about them as well. They represent many different departments. So they're not just literacy specialists, although we do have 3 literacy specialists who are part of this group. We have some of our instructional TOSAs, we have a classroom teacher, we have a speech language pathologist, an E&L teacher, and a special education teacher. So when Dr. Leggett came up with this plan, she was really intentional about being able to have people who represented many of these different departments, as well as every building represented. So every building has at least one, and some actually have 2 that are part of this group. We met actually earlier today right in this room as well, and they've really taken on a leadership role, in thinking about all of those different ways we need to refine our learning for teachers, whether they've been through letters or whether they're newly hired and they're going to be starting this spring. So all of our probationary hires will begin volume 1 of the letters training this spring with our in-house trainers. And they'll have the opportunity to really directly connect that foundational learning for teachers around the science of reading to the new programs that we have invested in. So I think they have the opportunity to really make that applicable and practical for teachers right from the get-go. And then they'll have that building level support with their TOSA or their letters turnkey trainer in their building to continue to ask questions when they go back and put it into practice. So that's all I have, but any questions for me related to that or anything going on at our elementary buildings that I can answer?
No, I would just add that it was fantastic to be able to see it in action when we went over to your building yesterday, and see and actually have a conversation about that letters changing, specifically with the E&L teacher. We also had it with with our instructional coach there as well. But having it from that lens, I think, was really helpful. It was really great. So thanks, Kate. Appreciate it. Oh, and the only other thing I would say is, again, this is something that New York State is doing. It's just a reminder for the board. So we are about 2 years ahead of this whole initiative, but you will continue to hear more and more things that are it's really a mandate from the state that we have to do, and now we're out in front, which I appreciate from all of our elementary folks and Dr. Leggett and Mrs. Land.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Callahan. I'm the building principal at Spry Middle School. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak a little bit about the secondary this evening. So starting at Schrader, the holiday season at Schrader was filled with generosity. Students and staff supported local charities through Warrior Giving, including the YWCA, which we heard about earlier, Warrior Cupboard, Hurricane Helene Relief, and Saints Place. Holiday Spirit Week brought joy with PTSA-sponsored hot cocoa and candy canes, festive dress-up days, and abundant good cheer. Thomas High School students also spread the holiday through a lot of service projects throughout Rochester. Service scholars volunteered at Salvation Army. Seniors hosted gingerbread contest. The Link crew held a cookie decorating event. Mr. Weedor, Mrs. Prindle, and Mr. Palmer led a service scholars in preparing breakfast at the Open Door Mission. And then Mrs. Zaborni's Spanish class shared Feliz Navidad with our UPK learners. Thomas wants to congratulate Dr. Kyle Sackett on earning his DMA from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which is no small feat. Goal students and Unity residents enjoyed their field trip to Eastview Mall. The entire program celebrated a day of games, roller skating at Skate Lovers Roller Palace. As the new year begins, students are preparing for January Regents exams and continuing to excel academically. So no word on how many people were injured in the skating. Owl High School students showcased their learning through creative projects, including a decomposition project in forensics, a display of the human brain and psychology. They enjoyed ice skating with their Thomas peers, and the staff celebrated the holidays with students through games, treats, and also enjoyed a hot chocolate bar. I do like their Christmas card or the holiday card in the top right corner there. Spry students today experienced Warrior Day. So Warrior Day is at Schrader High School, and it prepares our students for the high school transition. So they did a building tour, they heard about different electives that they can take, and most importantly, it's an opportunity for them to start to engage in the transition process, which really just, demystifies the things that they've heard. It allows them to be there, ask questions, and see it for themselves. And the success of this initiative has really launched a 5-Go-6 Warrior Day that our rising sixth graders will experience this spring at both Willink and at Spry.
That's great.
Willink welcomes staff and students back with the PTSA's popular flapjacks and flannels breakfast. I think the weather helped with the flannel participation. Sixth grade students intentionally set some academic and social emotional New Year goals, and they embarked on a squid dissection in science class, which sounds gross, and interesting for the science.
Of course, and interesting too.
Great things are happening at Owl Middle. A review of data showed strides towards their program goal of improving student progress towards IEP goals. The picture of the papers is all the students making positive growth on their academic goals. Almost everyone in the program was in the pile. The data dive was time well spent with staff, where they were able to identify some barriers to growth for specific students and make some instructional changes to support future success. Owl Middle also said, "See you soon" to Miss Bergerstock, who retired at the end of December. Ms. Bergerstock is a longtime TA at Willink in the Owl program that I also had the privilege to work with. And that's it for the secondary campus news.
Oh, that's fantastic. And just before we chain it over, I would just also add Warrior Night, Titan Warrior Day, Titan Day. It's such a unique thing for a school district to do what we do, but it doesn't go without, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of coordination with our bus garage and everything else. So kudos to everybody that makes that happen, because it is really a great thing for kids. It really is. So,
It's an awesome thing.
Yep.
And it's a lot of collaboration between both the high school teams and
Yeah.
the middle school teams. So
and I love that time of year when we get the opportunity to do that, because something always comes out of that as well. So great, thank you. And now, Mrs. Lasky.
Thank you. I'm Jane Lasky. I'm the Director of Facility Usage, a nice fresh title this year from Mr. Freeman. So most of my responsibilities lie within scheduling just about everything that takes place in the district between academics, athletics, band, and I also spend a lot of time partnering with the Webster community. So a lot of those logos right there are folks that we partner with for space, facility usage, and activities. Oh, Chris, can you hit that for me? Thanks, it didn't, I'm a lefty, so. My information isn't as exciting, it's based on data, but I did put the shout song on my slides in case I see people starting to get too bored with numbers. So I'm bringing to you some of the data that I have from Master Library, the scheduling system that the Webster Central School District uses. So between July 1st and December 31st, we used 15,431 rooms. We break up our classifications for reservations into district groups, which isn't the day-to-day academics. It's everything else that takes place: clubs, practices, drama, concerts, and meetings. So obviously, it takes up a big part of the pie. Group A is set aside for PTSA, Parks and Recreation, and Scouts. And Group B, there is a slight facility fee and a custodial fee if they have activities outside of the school hours of custodians. So our biggest partner is Webster Youth Sports. So all the youth sports organizations, softball, baseball, soccer, use our facilities 12 months of the year for practices and for games. Group C is a small part of the pie. When we rent to Group C, they need to cover all the costs of using our facility, and it's typically AAU, dance recitals, groups outside of Webster Central School District. So as you can see, during that time period of those 5 months, we are very busy sharing our space with the community. Chris, thanks. I'm just waiting for that other piece to populate. There we go. So I wanted to give you a sense of what happens in a month in the Webster schools. So there were almost 4,000 requests for space. Schrader tends to be our busiest school, and that is with and without the aquatic center. So those are all events that aren't curriculum related. So you can see the numbers, and I'll just highlight some of that. Thomas is right behind Schrader, then Spry, then Willink. And I wanted to highlight some of the weekend and the after-hour use, which is very, very significant. We are open till 7:30 Monday through Friday at all the elementary schools, and that space is used by sports, PTSA, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, lots of other activities. We've seen a significant increase of weekend use across the board. We're seeing clubs asking for space, school-related clubs asking for space on Saturdays and Sundays. We also have the community using space on the weekends. And this does not include athletic contests, but it does include athletic practices. I did a conference with Master Library a couple days ago, and we are, out of their clients, even small colleges, we are experiencing more use than most of them. And a lot of that is a credit to the teachers using Master Library so that we know what's going on. And the big thing that I talk about with folks with Master Library is it's not just about your building. Our folks at Buildings and Grounds and security need to know when there's people in the buildings on the weekends and after hours. So Master Library is not only used within a building, it is district-wide so that everyone knows what is happening in our district on the weekends. And we certainly want to keep Mr. Neil Flood happy, so I make sure everything's in there on the weekends. Just because I'm looking at it, I think you'd all be shocked to find out that we had 37 food trucks on campus between mid-August and the end of October. And that falls under me. And I enjoy that people get to have different food at the events. However, there's a lot of paperwork involved in making sure that the food trucks are safe for everybody. So I just wanted to share a few trends with all of you, and I kind of mentioned it already, that we're seeing a big increase in requests for space later in the evening, on Saturdays, on Sundays, a big increase of use during school holidays where we're open almost all day and night, which certainly is a credit to the teachers, the coaches, the advisors that are so willing to bring their students in for activities on the days off from school. A couple events, mostly the dance recitals, are being impacted by some staffing shortages. We're not able to accommodate as many as we have in the past because of staffing changes in that department. So we won't see as much use in June. So if you have questions about any data it's a very complex and intuitive system we use. I can get just about anything for you across the district. So contact me, and hopefully you're using Master Library and it's working out okay for you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jane. I appreciate that. And wow, 37 food trucks. Who would have known that? That's a crazy stat.
Yeah, so
much
it could be
appreciated.
on a Sunday for kindergarten orientation. We have 7 or 8 at homecoming events.
Okay, that does add up.
It does add up.
Oh, very good. All right, well, and that ends our report tonight for Campus News. So I just want to say thank you very much to our 3 guests, and also thank you for your leadership. It matters.
Thank you.
Thank you. You good? Everybody good? All right. I am going to let Andy introduce our next 3 guests here, but I'm excited. Or is it 2? Two. Okay. Two members of a great team. I mean, the team that we have in our student services is phenomenal. And I will then yield over to Dr. Millette to introduce our 2 guests.
Sounds good. Thanks, Brian. Tonight we're going to talk about a program we're very proud of in Webster, our integrated co-teaching program, and my 2 amazing colleagues, and then one in the crowd for support, will be presenting on integrated co-teaching. So we have Marjorie Marble, our Director of Student Services for Elementary, and Dan Sepka, our Director of Student Services for Secondary Schools.
Greetings. We need a lot of support, so thanks, Kathy. Appreciate you being in the back.
All right, so tonight we have some learning targets. We are hoping that you will be able to explain what integrated co-teaching looks like here in Webster schools, and also be able to discuss the benefits of integrated co-teaching for our students.
And before we get into any further, board members, does you guys have any familiarity with the term ICT or integrated co-teaching? Raise your hand, give me a little indication. Okay, got it. Okay. That's what a good teacher does. They always survey the room. And
Good pedagogy.
so we cherry-picked some of your board goals. There's many of them, but we wanted to see what this presentation could overlap in what areas. And again, one of our practices as special education teachers is we're highlighting key terms. So of your board goals, some of the key terms that kind of popped out for us were providing equitable opportunities for all students. Inclusion is very near and dear to our hearts in student services and special education, and then being able to share our story a little bit with you.
So this visual, we really love this visual, and you may hear the term marry. Integrated co-teaching really marries together general education and special education. And it honors the fact that students with disabilities are general education students first. And when integrated co-teaching is done really well, it provides an inclusive setting for students where our students with disabilities can receive their specially designed instruction, but at the same time, it provides necessary supports for all of the students in the class, including students who may need some enrichment. So what is integrated co-teaching? Integrated co-teaching is really all about shared responsibility. In the model, the general education teacher and the special education teacher, they share responsibility for everything: delivery of primary instruction, all of the planning and evaluation of all students. It is truly an equal partnership. So what does co-teaching look like? By regulation, or special education regulations, a co-teaching classroom cannot have more than 12 students with disabilities. That is the maximum. And that number of students without disabilities should be no more than or equal to the number of students with disabilities. Here in Webster, I can tell you that we work really hard to, number one, keep those ratios smaller. So our target is approximately 8 students in an ICT. And again, that's what we aim for, even though there could be a maximum of 12. So what ICT is not is 2 teachers just taking turns teaching the whole group of students. Hopefully, we would not see that in an ICT. We do not identify students as your students and my students. Again, it is shared responsibility for all students. And we also do not take students with disabilities and put them in one particular section of the room where they would get their instruction.
This is a very crude diagram of our special education continuum in the district. And you can see it's organized on the left-hand side from least restrictive to the far right being the most restrictive. And if we take a look at the most restrictive classes are our special classes, or otherwise refers to as our self-contained classes. Typically, they have a very different set of continuum and curriculum, that are being addressed in the classroom. The integrated co-teaching falls just before that. So it's a little bit up on the restrictive setting, but we are still able to provide access for all students to still work towards achieving New York State standards, just as their same age gen ed peers are as well. So the why. Why do we offer this level of support in special education service in Webster? Again, we talked about the inclusive opportunities that are so important to us in student services. This is a great way to be able to include students with disabilities with their same age peers in all their classes. In addition, students with disabilities have the ability to access the content, the curriculum, the same New York State standards as just as everybody else. And then in addition, this allows more students with disabilities to attain and achieve graduation requirements. Some of the models that and we could talk a lot about this, we won't. We were told this was supposed to be a brief overview, so we will do the best we can to stick to that. We have a lot of different models for the integrated co-teaching. Hopefully when you all are going into some of the classrooms and some of the classrooms that we supervise with our partnerships, you're able to see some of these models in practice. So on your next learning walk, or maybe on the one you just did, hopefully you're able to see some of these models in practice. We're going to focus just kind of briefly on the high yield models of integrated co-teaching, which are station teaching, parallel teaching, and alternative teaching. We have visuals as well. Pretty exciting stuff here. So in the station teaching models, right, our circles are representative of our two teachers, one gen ed, one special education teacher. And in the stations, the students are organized by the teachers into different stations. Okay, one teacher is developing and leading a lesson for a small group of students. Another is doing the exact same thing, maybe on the same type of instruction, maybe on something different. And then in this model, the third group that does not have a teacher is an independent station where the teachers have generated work based on skills that the students have already demonstrated or have already learned, and they need some repetition on, but it's something that they can do independently. The idea is that all students, after a certain amount of time, are getting up, they're moving, and they're rotating through each station so that all teachers are, every teacher is seeing every student in a smaller ratio. So this is one of my favorite ways to teach, being a former special education teacher myself. Another high yield model is the parallel teaching model, where we have the whole group being broken into two smaller groups. The teachers are teaching the same lesson in their own way, but effectively breaking down the ratio of student to teacher and cutting that in half. So really utilizing the expertise and the availability of two teachers within every classroom. And then lastly, we have the alternative model, or the alternative teaching model, where one teacher is taking a class through a lesson while the other teacher is pulling a smaller group aside. This really allows for a lot of variety within the teaching experiences here. So pre-teaching, reteaching, as well as enrichment opportunities. And in any partnership, right, what the way the groups are designed is through assessment and from feedback from the instructional practices of the teachers. So the teachers, and Marjorie will talk a little bit about this at our development days, but they're working together to analyze the data that is generated from their formative and summative assessments, and then creating heterogeneous and or homogeneous groups based on that evaluative data and feedback, and then they're generating the groups from there. That drives the lessons.
All right, so professional development. Professional development is critical. It is critical to the success of the ICT model. So what we offer in the summer, there are two 2 training days offered in the summer to each ICT teaching team. So every single team, K-12, can access these days. One of the days is direct instruction. So that is a day that is led by our teachers on special assignment, along with Dan and I. And on those days, we work on developing relationships with partners. We talk about the ICT strategies, and we talk about the ICT teaching models. The second day is a collaborative planning day, and that's typically a day that the ICT team chooses on their own, and they have that whole day to plan together. They certainly can have support if they would like from directors or TOSAs for that planning time if needed. And then throughout the school year, we also allow the teachers to have release time as, again, a partnership to work on planning, throughout that school year, so that they can really be prepared. As you see those teaching models we have, that takes planning. It takes a lot of planning, and they need to be on the same page.
Okay, so we're gonna watch a brief video. Brief meaning about 3 minutes, okay? Emphasis on brief. We've heard that videos can be lengthy here.
I don't know, I'm sensing this time stress.
We're
good.
You're good. You're good. You're doing great. You're doing great.
You got it. You got it. What you're going to see, so these are, and thank you, Paul Conley, for helping us edit these down. But we, Paul and our ABTV team interviewed some of our co-teaching partnerships, which we labeled as highly effective co-teaching partnerships. And they gave some thoughts and some pointers to new teams, and we have actually used that as a teaching component at our training opportunities that Marjorie just talked about. So we've repurposed this. Again, we have a lot of these. They're very long, but for the purpose of this meeting, they're going to be about 3 minutes. Okay.
Hi, friends. We're here to talk to you about the evolution of an ICT partnership. We have some key words that we're going to start with, and then we'll talk to you guys about where we've been and where we're going. So the words that we came up with that we think are most important are
trust,
flexibility,
sense of humor,
open-mindedness,
and owning all students. With that in mind, we like to think of the class as our class, not as a he or she or
yours or mine.
Right. And all the kids are part of the whole learning. We work with various students throughout the day and just try to keep it fun and lighthearted.
It's one of those things they talk about in marriages where they can start telling your stories or your jokes and that's what, I've been seeing over the past few years. I'm sitting there going like, I normally say that, and then he says it first, and I think it's just kind of funny, actually. But I think that's just, we're so used to each other. We kind of know how we roll when it comes to certain times of the year, and I think the kids see that, too. I think that's what's more important. They see that it's seamless, and so it's not like, hey, I go to one or the other. They can go to anybody, and as a result, I think they benefit, 2 teachers in the room.
Yeah, I just switched, from the me to we approach. That was part of our growing pains at the beginning, saying saying, okay, I planned this, or this is what I want us to do, and Dan would give me a look and like it's a we thing. So, but we know that we're gonna grow as we go through this, and it's not gonna be like just click on and everything be perfect. So we do have everyday conversations. We plan all the time. I asked Dan how would he want to approach this, in terms of our lesson planning. We got a calendar so we know what we're going to do all the time. It helps. And each year we tweak things and try to find ways to make things better. But the biggest thing that helped us, I think, we're both completely aligned in terms of how much we deeply care about the students. So that made it very easy.
What we'd like you guys to take away from this is that, this is my 19th or 20th year teaching, and my most fun years have been ICT years. Having the positive relationships with another colleague, being able to do it together, brings a lot of joy to my own life. So if you have the right fit and you have the right attitude,
Right.
And you're open-minded and you're flexible, it really is a beautiful, beautiful partnership.
It is.
For the teachers as well as the kids.
As well as the students, yes. And that's what we want them to take away, is what is great about learning is learning from each other, and that's what we do on a daily basis. We learn from each other. And even in the fly of the moment, in the classroom, if we have to make some last minute changes, we talk it through just like we would want the students to talk it through with each other in collaborative discussions.
So remember, trust, flexibility, sense of humor, open-mindedness, and owning all students. See ya.
So when we talk to these people and we are thoughtfully creating these teams with building administration, and what they have spoke about there too is the relationships. So finding these partnerships is truly like a marriage, and when they're highly effective, it does look like a high functioning marriage, I should say, where the partners are finishing each other's sentences. So
Great.
we're still working on it. But and I like Maggie is the name of the teacher who made that last comment, but like when we have that connection happening, you can feel the difference. And I think that is modeled from the teachers, and then it is absolutely felt amongst our students. So this is a service and a continuum that we are super proud of offering, and we're continuing to perfect it. It's a work in progress, as always. It's messy. But it is something that we're really proud here at Webster and Student Services to put our name behind this. We don't have to watch it again. Thoughts or questions that we might be able to answer for anybody?
So Dan, so the teams stay together, right? So partnership, teachers, they stay together. How many teams do we have in the district?
That's a great question. We have a lot.
It's easier, it's easier to quantify at elementary because it is they co-teach all day, whereas at secondary it's by subject area. So at elementary, we have 2 sections of ICT at every grade level, so that's 12 sections of ICT. And we have approximately 75 students right now in ICT at elementary.
Yeah, we have more at secondary. I can pull that for you. I don't have that off the top of my head. We generate ICT classes by need. So when the CSE meets and determines that need for students, we take that number and then we staff accordingly. So that's how they're generated.
I can imagine logistically that's got to be hard, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, from a schedule perspective,
Yes.
it's got to be really hard.
Yes.
You
Yes,
see
sir.
the benefits, but yeah.
Yeah, it's messy.
Right.
But again, we feel, and I'll speak for the collective we here, like this is something that we do feel strongly about. It's certainly not the easier path to take. But again, having been a part of it myself, the yields are so high for our kids. And again, if I was to be in the classroom again, I wouldn't want to teach by myself. I would want to teach with a partner. Right.
I have a quick question in terms of the students who are not students with disabilities. How are they selected? Is it by temperament or ability to be flexible? I mean, how do you select the right students to be in class with others that may need a little more support?
I can speak to the elementary process. The elementary schools have a process where they put together class lists, and they look at all factors when they put together a group of students. They look at, okay, how many males do we have? How many females do we have? How many, they look at, the needs of the students. So they're putting together balanced classes across K-5. So they do the same thing with ICT, to be honest, what would be the makeup. So they don't necessarily hand select the general education peers. It's done just like the other classroom placements.
In secondary, it's a little less curated. You heard the high school folks talking about course requests. So that number generates the amount of classes that we have to offer for like an ELA class. And then we take a look at the special education number, and then we look to balance that and try to keep it again at that number that Marjorie talked about, right? Certainly below 12, but 8 is like our high end typically in practice here. So then it's a lot less hand scheduled, so to speak. So it is kind of based on the numbers.
So does that mean that those classrooms that have 2 teachers would be larger than a normal classroom, or no?
That's a good follow-up. So I forgot to add, one of the things that we talk about when we're scheduling with the building administrators and generating schedules is we try to, as much as possible, we try to keep the overall number of students in an ICT class a little bit lower, just because we find that, again, the students that are typically in need of an ICT level support are students with disabilities, and particularly with reading, writing, and math needs that are not in line with their gen ed peers. So we're typically a year or 2 or more, in some instances, below grade level. And so really thoughtfully keeping that number as low as possible whenever possible. It's not always possible. It is messy. There are some scheduling implications that get complex there, but to the best of our ability, we try to keep that number as low as possible.
And in elementary, honestly, it just depends on, how many sections do you have in any one particular building, and how many students have to go into those sections.
What has been the student, the student feedback on it? And, because one of the things I would worry about is, obviously you have 2 pods teaching in the same classroom, the distraction, right? You know how, especially kids in elementary school, they're looking over, what are my friends doing over here? How do you guys handle that, and what are the kids saying about it?
I would say at elementary, in terms of distractions, things like that, it's the adults that would report that they have to get used to that type of model. I will tell you that the kids are pretty flexible, and our students are very used to multiple adults in their classroom, whether it's another teacher, a paraprofessional, a literacy specialist coming in. Our students are so used to adults coming in and out. They actually, I think, accommodate very well to the model. Again, I think it's the adults that maybe have to sometimes adjust.
I'd like to add to that, because I've visited so many classrooms where this works, and I have to say, the classrooms today are different than when you were going to school and when I was teaching. The children adapt so well to the different personalities in the classroom. They don't miss a beat. When I mean, I've seen some kids that I thought, oh, maybe that's disruptive, but nobody's disrupted. They just keep moving through the educational process. It's pretty impressive, I have to say. Seeing it is believing it, yeah.
And I think, too, a lot of our students with disabilities, learning disabilities aside, like a lot of them have, learning is just hard in general. And then there's some students that have a disability around attention. And so a traditional class with one teacher where they're sitting and getting for 58 minutes, right, in a high school class, that's really challenging. These models that we went over allow for movement. They allow for breaking it up and being really thoughtful about how you're teaching. And there's a lot of metacognition amongst our teachers about the way they're delivering content and curriculum. So they do account for that, and the training really talks about the novelty techniques that are used and just really getting at the heart of engagement, because we know we have students that have some significant barriers, so we can't just do it the same way we've always done it. And Ms. Barnabas, to your point, the classroom looks very different.
You know, and I think it's a great prep for life, too. It's going to go, I don't know if that's English.
Sounds good to me.
But my husband, who went to British boarding schools, would have corrected me. But it's preparing them to accept so many different types of people and movement for the rest of their life.
Yep.
So kudos to the whole concept. Yeah.
I think about the one classroom we were in last year, and they were playing the game Headbands, and there were all different levels of kids, but we had no idea, and it really was what was on their head, what they were trying to spell, or I can't even remember, but it was such a high-functioning class, and the kids all were so respectful of one another. So I think for our general education, the population as well, this is teaching them empathy, patience, all those things that make superhumans. So to me, it's fascinating to watch. So thank you.
I love that example too, because what I remember most is that we had to be told after by the teacher that she had actually differentiated, and she knew that different kids had their needs met. Yeah. And she told us how, but we
We had no
first,
clue.
by looking at it, we had no idea,
Yeah.
which is really neat.
Even gen ed kids learn in different styles. So most of the time in a fluid situation like that, you don't know who has an IEP, who doesn't have an IEP, and every kid, regardless of their learning abilities or disabilities, everybody's learning in different ways regardless. So when it meshes like that, and like you said, it's like a marriage and you have planning time together, it doesn't matter who has what and doesn't have what, and everything just flows, and everybody's learning regardless of what they bring into the classroom.
And that's why we take that very seriously. And I think, you know, on behalf of Mark, I'll speak for both of us, but like we recognize that we have that power, so to speak. And I think it's special education is a really good vehicle to drive instruction, because what works for our kids, right, is going to work for everybody. And so we can identify some high leverage practices and some best practices, and we're currently doing that with our departments right now.
So I have kind of a historical question. Does anybody know how many years? My gut tells me it's right around 13 years that we've been officially doing ICT and been doing the training. Is it around 2012-ish?
That seems about right.
Right around there, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that was right around the year that we did this, right? So
2010-ish,
13 years.
yeah.
And kind of expand upon Jeff's first question, my wonder is how many of our teachers right now have had the training for ICT? Because I'm going to guess it's closer to 30, 35, 40% of our overall teachers that have had the training, where maybe we only have about 10-ish percentage of our classes that are ICT, but the training actually then carries on with them when they go back and are teaching just a straight general ed classroom. So that's fantastic. The professional development is outstanding. I've had a chance to see it in action. It's wonderful. Thank you guys very much for your expertise. I love, first of all, I think you said it well, this is a source of pride. It's a source of pride for our district, and I really do appreciate the amount of time and effort that we put into it. And then I would go back to what Carole said too, because it's about resilience, trust, and flexibility. Those are great words to move us forward. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for your
You're
leadership.
very welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
All right. With that, can I have a motion to approve the instruction report as presented? So moved. Linda, second. Jeff, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you. Mr. Freeman.
So this evening I have some, I'd say 7 what I would call nuts and bolts reports on the financial operations for everybody. So the first up is our October's Treasurer's Report. And October is like our high water mark for having cash available for investments, coming off tax collection, and now we kind of head to the other side of the mountain, coming back down until state aid starts arriving in March. So we're at a high point right now, so you can see that as part of the Treasurer's Report, that where cash flow is at its peak. We are investing, locked in a few more long-term investments earlier in the fall to bet against rate reductions coming up, and we are seeing a lot of banks, when one of our investments comes up, a lot of banks bidding month over month. So we are a very attractive client for a lot of people, and it's helping us squeeze a few extra dollars out. So.
Questions? All right. Motion to approve the October 2024 Treasurer's Report and Quarterly Expenditure Revenue Report as presented. So moved. Carole, second. Linda, all in favor? Aye.
All right. Next up is a BOCES resolution. It's kind of like a phew. The state's finally catching up and helping us. This resolution is authorizing Webster to, in essence, have BOCES become the focal point for all of the technology products that we purchased to become that go-between to create the data privacy agreements, to create all those requirements to, everybody going to laugh when it says it, Ed Law 2D. I mean, we hear that all the time in education when we're talking technology. So this is kind of, we don't have to do it all on our own. The RICs are forming a consortium, and we're just going to hop into it. So we need this resolution to do that.
I have a question. Does this save money in any way?
A little bit. It should create some efficiencies. It's going to free up some of Mr. Zimmer's time and Mr. Montemaro's time when they're chasing down software products and things like that. We do consult our attorneys when some of those clients are being somewhat difficult with following the rules and regulations. So this will kind of take care of that a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Good question. Yeah. All right, with that, motion to approve the RIC 1 Risk Operations Center resolution. So moved, Michele, second. Maria, all in favor? Aye.
Next is an updated resolution. You might recall in December, we had a JP Morgan Chase tax certiorari resolution, and the wrong date was put into the resolution. So there was a little confusion because these are multiple years. So there was confusion. The resolution had referenced 24-25, which is the current year. It should have referenced 23-24. So this just is a redo. Nothing else is changing. You notice in the resolution, I highlighted it in bold where the one change is to reference 2023-24 tax assessment year.
Questions? Okay, motion to approve the updated JP Morgan resolution. Carole?
I actually read all of this very carefully and was like ready to go.
I love it.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So motion, Carole, second. Michele, all in favor? Aye.
All right, next up is an audit for approval. I'm not going to lie, it's my least favorite audit of them all, the extra class audit, because I feel like every time we take a step forward, we got a couple steps backwards because of turnover. I think that's the easiest way. Year over year, we get new club advisors, new students that have to learn a whole new set of rules and regulations on Robert's Rules of Orders and voting and what they can do for fundraising. So this, is pretty typical year over year. The same things generally happen everywhere. Accidentally paying sales tax, not depositing something in a timely manner. Students forget to fill out a profit and loss statement for their fundraiser. So one of the things I am changing going forward that you notice in our corrective action is we have a retiree who for 20 years did the books at one of our schools, and she has agreed to go out and do some spot checking throughout the year. And so we just started that this month, and it's going to go to the 4 secondary buildings because there has been turnover on the secretarial side as well. So just to kind of do some best practices and get out there, and hopefully maybe that'll knock down some of the comments come next year and clean it up a little bit for us. So a couple things did get resolved, so you'll see that at the bottom. But overall, fairly standard extra class audit.
I actually chose not to have a club, just
I've done that.
because I didn't want to do the paperwork.
Mhm.
I mean, so kudos to the people that pushed through.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and
In the retiree.
nobody joins a club or starts a club because they love filling out the paperwork that is required by New York
Unless it's
State.
accounting club.
Yes.
They probably do.
And I can account that the retiree that is helping us with this is fantastic.
Yes, she is.
That's good. Questions? No? All right, motion to approve the extra class audits. So moved, Linda, second, Jeff, all in favor? Aye.
And the next audit for approval is our federal single audit. Because we are a district that has over $750,000 in federal monetary programs, the largest one of those being the school lunch program, USDA, is a federal program, so that alone sends us over the threshold. We're required to have a separate audit. Our single audit report is attached. They just explain the books on all those programs and that there are no findings, and everything we spend on the federal side is in line with what every one of those grants is required. So.
Question? No. Motion to approve the federal single audit. So moved, Maria, second. Linda, all in favor? Aye. Sorry, I'm trying to look both ways, Carole.
Doing great.
And next up is our annual technology lease approval. It's hard to believe this will be the 10th anniversary of us going to a one-to-one district. So this is the 4th renewal of our Chromebooks and devices and iPads. So we are purchasing, as part of this, 7,350 Chromebooks and 1,470 iPads and a variety of support software and some additional switches and cabling and server hardware as well as part of this lease, but the two largest components are the Chromebooks and the iPads. This is the 3-year refresh for those, so we will have a very large rollout again this summer from everybody getting their new Chromebooks like always. So we do an all hands on deck over there. We get everything up front as a reminder, and we pay for it over 3 years. And the whole thing is aidable through our BOCES aid at the state level, including the interest that we pay on the BOCES payment. So,
Questions?
And it's for next school year.
we actually purchase it now. It's part of 24-25.
Yep.
It's this fiscal year. We order it this fiscal year, and it starts rolling in at the end of this year. We start prepping and roll it out for the students to get them for 25-26.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
So the rollout would be August, September-ish?
August, usually mid-August, right before athletics kicks off. Possibly a little overlap sometimes at the start of athletics. We usually do it right at Willink and have a whole little system going if anybody's experienced that with their kids to come pick them up.
Pretty simple. It's pretty easy.
Awesome.
I love the fact that it's on a 3-year plan because it's actually it just continues. Right. Every year, we're not trying to buy a spike or a valley. We have a similar amount what we do, and that's been something that happened when we started this 10 years ago. When Brian said that was really how we were able to do this. Is we were able to put it on a 3-year rotational schedule so that we could get the aid every year, and we could count on how much aid we're going to be able to use to purchase these going into the next year. So brilliant model. I appreciate it.
I think as parents too, that helps.
Yeah.
Every 3 years. I'm not worried
Yeah.
about every single year having to go and get mine. But so that makes it
Exactly.
easier, I think, for parents and families too. It's every 3 years.
Yep.
No, it's great.
All right, motion to approve the BOCES technology lease. So moved. Jeff, second. Maria, all in favor?
Aye.
CVA.
The last resolution for approval tonight is to wrap up a CVA case against the district. So this resolution is the board's approval that will close the books on that and allow us to enter into the settlement agreement moving forward.
Questions? Okay. Motion to approve the settlement agreement and release resolution. So moved. Carole, second. Linda, all in favor? Aye. But I believe we have one abstention. Yep. This one's here. Who wouldn't have been available during any executive session, so that makes sense. All right. That takes care of business. So board member highlights. If anyone wants to jump in and go first.
Well, we visited Schlegel Road, and it was, thank you. I'm sorry I had to leave and didn't catch the follow-up, but it's always fascinating. I will say this again, visiting the schools really makes every moment that we spend on this, on like reading all those financial things. You feel like doing it because you know what it supports. And seeing the students and the teachers working is just encouraging. I have to confess that I am not able to get online for all the PTSA meetings that are online. I just messed it up again last night with the DeWitt Road, so I apologize to DeWitt Road. I thought I had it, and I didn't, and I just said, forget it. I prefer to go to a meeting. I'm going to the Willink meeting. I like that, yeah.
well as we can, and
Yeah.
it's difficult to, and we've said this before, because all of the meetings seem to happen on the same days right after their central, so it is often hard for us to get to them, but we do
Yeah.
the best we can with them, so it's not a problem.
So I will be going to all the Willing meetings because I can go there instead of try to get into it.
Yeah, no,
Miss my share as well, because I forget to
It's
understandable. We do the best we can.
Yep. We're all good. I just have a couple updates. The Monroe County School Boards Association legislative meeting met on last Wednesday. Today, sorry. It was to met someday, I don't know. There's two things coming up. The legislative breakfast, which I believe Janice has already signed up for, because she never misses it. I will be there, Brian will be there, and Carole will be there. Anybody else that wants to go? Oh, and Aaron. Anybody else? It's.
You can go, or you can go. You're in Brian's.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep, so anybody else that wants to go, it's a great opportunity to sit at tables with our representatives and just talk about our priorities as a district, but also as an association. Also, there is a trip to Albany, and I believe Brian and I are going to drive up and do that, and you'll probably meet us, you and Aaron. So we're going to, again, continue to push our advocacy and make sure, get more clarification on some things, especially the zero admission buses. So there's that. I also wanted to just touch on the Webster Health and Education Network. They have a forum coming up. It's called Navigating the Tween Years from Worries to Wellness, and that is on January 23rd, right in this building, from 6:30 to 8. It is part 2 of a 3-part series. It's meant for parents of elementary, middle school kids, and this one is just talking about what is worries. We seem to always lump everything as anxiety, but is it really anxiety? There's a lot of other words that it could be, so just trying to navigate through that. It's a great opportunity for parents to come together and talk as a community at tables, and there's a lot of movement around, so hopefully people will come to that. And then the only other thing for the Webster Health Education Network is they are beginning a campaign. It's called Selfie with a Sign. The coalition and the district partnered, and they installed these signs. There's 48 in total with 12 different sayings on them, and they promote protective factors, and those are they're just positive messages that help our community, our kids, develop resilience and positive energy attributes that'll promote the health and well-being of them. So if you notice on all the entrances of the buildings, there'll be a sign. And so what they're asking is if when you walk by the sign, if you would take a selfie and then submit it to the Webster Health Education Network, they will do a whole campaign of showing them. And there will probably be a scavenger hunt in the spring for some of the younger kids who don't have electronic devices, so that they can be with their parents. So there's that. And also one other thing that I'm very excited about is that at the middle schools at the end of the month, we are bringing back formerly known as Listening Post. I am so excited. We as in Webster Health Education Network and the district partnered together and saw that there was a need. And so there will be games and crafts and all sorts of craziness and chaos. So that will be on the 30th and 31st at both middle schools. Carole, it will be on your radar because
I know I love games.
We're trying something. They're trying something different, and we're asking some retirees to come back and sit at the tables and engage with the kids, because I think it's twofold. Sometimes the retirees leave and they don't come back, and they don't see all the changes and the good positive energy in the buildings, and it's great for the kids. So I'll be able to report back. We'll take lots of pictures of it, but I'm really excited for it. There's January 30th and 31st. Yeah, so it's exciting. So that ends all of my reports, I think.
I would just add, last night, it kind of goes along with the multi-generational concept of the listening post, which is what we're shooting for there. Last night, I don't know if anybody caught it or not, but at Schrader, they had a swing jazz concert, which is the first that I have seen this. I'm not sure if this is the first year we've done this. Is anybody aware? Jane, this is the first year, right? So this is the first year. And again, I got some videos of it sent to me, and there was every generation of kids and parents and grandparents, and they were, so our kids were actually performing the music in the cafeteria while everybody else was dancing around. So Brittany Coles is the director of the Music Kids, and they were giving a concert, if you will, to the tunes of swing dance or swing band. And it was, oh my God, the joy that you could see in these videos. So it was fantastic. But a great, great example of multi-generational opportunities that we are trying to work on in our school community, so for our overall community. Very cool.
Anybody else? I'm going to throw a little...
Is that what happened, Dave? That's what happened to your hand? You're at the swing concert.
I was wondering.
You were doing a little tour. That's great.
I'm going to throw a little PSA out there, as I witnessed it twice in the last month. And since we live and breathe transportation and busing in my house anyways, the red stoplights when a bus is stopped and children are getting on and off is not optional. You go through it, you are going to get a $250 ticket. If it's your second offense, it's going to be even worse. So please stop when the buses are stopped and their stop sign is out with those red flashing lights, because that is exactly what it means, is stop. So after witnessing it twice in the last month, I just felt the need to throw that out there.
Brian's got 120 in December.
Yep.
Yeah, 120 times. Cars are passing our buses when they are loading and unloading children. It's not okay.
The 2100 block of New York Route 404, which
Empire Boulevard.
we all affectionately refer to as Empire Boulevard,
Yeah.
So
is the number one spot.
are they ticketing these people? Are they finding them? Ooh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah, we just get a monthly summation. of
Yes,
how
we don't get
many
the money.
people we
The money
don't.
doesn't come to us. It's the company that runs it, but we get the data and.
It's also
And it's also available on the county website.
Yep.
What's the 2400 block of Empire? Where just for frame of reference?
2100
2100.
block is like right around, I believe it's right close to, what's the, yeah, it's, yeah, a little bit by Plank, down there a little bit.
From there down to Water's Edge in that area.
Up a little bit more from there.
Yeah, okay.
There's still some I mean, it's hard to picture. If you buzz by, there's still some houses that have not been converted into something else over the years that are dotting that whole roadway all the way to the village, in all honesty.
So that's just my little PSA.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, that brings us to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions about anything in the consent agenda? No? So with that, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved Carole, second Maria, all in favor? Aye. And then, of course, last but there are no speakers tonight. No one has signed up, no one is here, so that brings us to our adjournment. May we please have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Carole, so moved to Maria, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, and have a great night. Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.